It's Happily Married Nerds. How you doing, Internet?
Hi, everybody.
We have here Mr. Robert. This is my cohort for the evening. And here we have Mr. Greg. He is known all over South Florida for LARPing games most often.
I am.
You are.
Mhm.
You poor man. What will you do?
You're
And
nationally
I'm
known.
Ash. I'm your other cohort for this evening.
Yes.
In any case, we're going to be discussing LARPing today, going over some broad spectrum stuff, and then also getting some of Greg's little insights here into how he has managed to become one of the best game masters in the area. And I'll let you start us off, Mister.
I love the way you say that. By the way,
Yeah, but
we're
it's
just
true.
about to. We're, at the point of this taping, we're just about to run a game. So if I should suddenly run away, that means somebody's banging the door down or something is wrong. So bear with us. We're out actually back by my pool, and we're just about to run a scenario here.
Oh, we are.
Take it away, Robert.
So it's a good intro. Actually, I love it because this is really about immersion. You know.
Yes, it is.
You know, and for you, when you think of LARP, just for those who don't know what LARPing is, what does it speak to you? What does it say?
Now, bear in mind, live action in this day and age has more than has more than just live action role playing. Whereas it used to, when it started, it was Vampire the Masquerade.
Is that really the first kind of iteration?
It was to a point. Now there have been several similar iterations. I believe, Ash, you've been to the Buffer live action role playing. That's what they call it now. It's
A little bit
live
different.
action.
That's another one.
Yeah,
We'll
because
do
you're
another
making
episode on
you're
that.
making physical contact with someone with a sword that's made of foam or something, preferably non-steel. So with LARP, the way I run it, run by the rules of Mind's Eye Theater, or run by no touching, no swinging from the chandeliers, no real live weapons,
No destruction of personal
right,
property.
nothing. That's a story in itself, but nothing where you could rip your costume or have any damage or something like that. It's hard to gauge, especially when people are coming in and they see us in this real world setting, and how do I go into it? What it is basically is it's theater, but you're improvising. You're bringing your concept of your character into how you would portray it. A lot of people have an angle on how they would run a particular character, especially like if a player comes in and has a very strong idea of what they want to play. Like, I want to play someone who's out to make a little money, or then you've got the players who come in and say, I used to watch this TV show long ago, and I wanna play this type of character. That's normal for when you have somebody new, because they don't know of any. They've not been through 3 years of drama like I have, or have a thespian background where they can fall back on creating a character and saying, you know what, I'm gonna put this spin on it. I'm gonna put a Boston accent on it, by the car and the yacht, or something like that. They see what we're doing and they want to emulate how we do it. It takes a little while. Some people get right into it quick. They jump into it and they're
Natural.
It's like ducks in water.
Yeah.
They float.
All I'm gonna say
Other
is I
people,
remember
they get
when
into it and they're like, you know what, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And then there's the people, we had a couple of players who went to one of your games. It's like, you know what, I want to hit somebody on the head. I don't want to just sit here and talk. My role playing is more or less role playing. If I were to talk to you, it's like we're sitting at the table talking over what we're going to do to get the money from the bank or something like that.
Yeah, it takes a very large creative sense, a very sense of taking disbelief out of the scenario. So you're not really where you physically are. You're wherever you're going to be. taking yourself out of the moment into a fantasy realm of whatever the story is. And you've run quite a few different scenarios as far as world settings. I mean, you've done everything. I mean, the current one you're doing.
I've done Vampire,
Mhm.
the Masquerade. That got a little old. A lot of people. I mean, when people say, "Oh, you're going to do that vampire thing again," when they hear live action role playing, it's immediately what comes to mind. Especially if you're saying something like that online. We've done the superhero thing. We've done other venues. What a venue is basically a setting. A venue can also be like here. We're sitting in somebody's backyard and we're role playing. My job as a storyteller is A, you want your players to have fun. B, you want to take them somewhere where they've never been before. C, surprises. And D, kind of get some feedback. When I guess a successful storyteller would be somebody who allows his players to grow as they would be as role players, and also because if your players come in and they're awesome, you don't need a storyteller, do you?
Yeah.
You know,
We always need
the
a storyteller.
Well, no, you really don't. I've been to games and I've been player who played all kinds. I play the gauntlet as far as like players playing a character is concerned. I've played all types of strange. I mean, I played mentally ill people, and I've done it to where I would sit and I would read up on the psychoses or whatever it is and play it correctly, which scares some people. I mean, they see me acting not quite right, then they get frightened, which means you're doing a good job. If you're you know, playing, "Hi, I'm Surfer Dude. Aren't I cool?" You know, you don't really. That's camp, but it's like if you're in a game and the game master or the storyteller says, "Camp it up, babies," you know, and yeah, you could do that. But if you're going dark for a scenario, then yes, you want to bring in that dark, moody ominence to that. But as I was saying, with a storyteller or a game master, if you sit your players down like we're going to do this evening and kind of have a meeting with them, give them the lowdown on how you'd like to see the game progress. If they ask you, "Can you run something with a little bit more combat in it?" Sure, I can do that. You're going to die. But, and that's another thing too, if players are aggressive and they want to go out and kill something, you might want to take them aside and say, "You sure you want to do this?" Because I've been in games where the characters were really pretty darn powerful, and I take them aside and say, "Look, do you really want this to be a bloodbath? You want all these players? 'Cause you know what? They're not going to like somebody who they put a lot of time and investment in to just die."
That can suck.
It can. A lot of the times, if the player is fair, they'll let the fear take place, and you know that'll be fine. But I mean, if you're in a game where it's like, "Well, I'm sorry, they just gotta go," you know, they've been given warning after warning after warning, and they're not listening, and they're still doing what they're doing, which nobody likes. So pretty much everybody would be happy to see them die. I've seen that situation happen.
Yep.
And there's always a chance, though, if you have a character die. And this, again, even though it's fantasy, you still, again, put the effort in. You care about your character.
It hurts.
It does. And you can still have the opportunity to come back as something else, but it kind of is not the same. It loses something in there.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, in your experience, you've run how many games, would you say, in your mind, at this point? Would you say over
Look
100?
at that face.
Higher.
Really?
A lot.
A lot higher.
We're talking, I started doing this back when Mind's Eye Theater occurred, and that was in the early 90s. And
Wow.
before that, I was doing tabletop for just any scenario.
Wow.
And being, I guess, a writer, I'm able to just come up with that off the cuff. Yeah, you wanna plan and write down and plot, but if your players go a different direction,
You have to be.
you have to be able to compensate for that, which they will. You know,
keeps you on your toes too.
well,
though.
yeah. Well, I mean, if I've been in games where new storytellers have sat there and said, "I have no idea what to do with you guys now. I'm lost." Then the player's sort of like, "Well, where were you going?" You know, if you're a good player. If not, the player's going to say, "Well, we still want to do this thing."
Mhm. And then you kind of lose your game at that point to your players, though. I mean,
Yeah.
and as long as you're okay with giving up control,
If
to some
you're
extent,
okay with that, if not, then
yeah,
you know.
it's going to be a struggle.
So as you're a writer, you've done a couple rifters for Palladium. I'm sure you've done other stuff too,
Yes.
even though my brain is a little foggy today. Sorry, guys. But when you do like play testing, I know you take a set group of people to try and run your ideas and bounce them off and make sure it fleshes out well before you put pen to paper in the end. Does your mindset change when you do that versus running just a story for fun?
For
Fun?
LARP, okay, playtesting more or less is for a tabletop scenario, which actually is good because if you've created this thing and you say, "Hey guys, I want you all to sit down and run this that I've created," which I believe you guys have done.
Yes.
You've done.
I've done with
that.
you once. Yep.
And tell me what's happening. And to be honest with you, as it's going through the story, you already have a good idea of what's going to work and what's not. So you would have to have the pen and paper or the eraser ready and do that change right then before you forget it. With LARP, you want to run the idea by maybe a couple of players or what was called a assistant storyteller, narrator, or your judge. Your judge being the person that should know all the game mechanics and sit down with you saying, "You know what, no, this will never work." Speaking of that, it's a good idea to have all your players, and tonight's going to be reiterating that fact with my players tonight. It's good to have your players know at least the basic rules of whatever game system you're running. Happens to be the Mind's Eye Theater system that we're running this evening. I've run other similar types of games. They aren't all as portable, to coin a phrase, portable as would be that system. Also, you want to go with the easiest one. If a player gets the rules easy, you're gold. You know, if the player doesn't understand, or if they're constantly asking you questions like, "How do you do this? What skill do I use for this?" Or "What was that challenge again?" Or what have you. You know, "How do I do that?" Tonight we're going to have a couple of new players come in, and they're going to be fresh. They're going to be, you know, a lot of the times if the player listens and they've got, you know, it going on up there, they get it pretty darn quick. You did.
Yeah.
You did. Everybody. But, you know, there's
a learning curve.
There's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and especially if they've never done any gaming at all. Because at least if you've done like tabletop gaming in the past, well, there is a changeover to the LARP world. It's
Right.
not like a whole alien thing at that point. It's
Right.
similar. You're
Right.
taking away some of the stuff, you're putting in some other stuff, but it's really kind of the same thing. You know, and I think Mind's Eye is probably the most complex of the systems you run for LARPing, or is there more complex ones?
There's
out
more out there. There's some that you have to have dice. There's some that you have to have cards to show. There's some that you have to still go by the rules on the paper, and you have to do the adding and whatnot. And, I mean, there's all kinds. Really, honestly, if you get a group of players that are just more than willing to role play, sit down and have this discussion and then go with the plot. Who needs rules, you know? I mean, if they're willing to sit there and say, "Hey, this is what we want to do," and I would say, "Do you have the skills to do that?" "Oh yeah, we got this," but it's like I want to talk to it. I'll let him. Sure, go ahead. The books always tell you if the rules get in the way, do away with that one rule. You know.
And that's the thing. The thing is a lot of times the rules aren't there to tell you what to do. It's more of here's what you don't want them to do. It's kind of like a little fence around
Yes.
it, you know.
Like what I was saying earlier about, no touching.
Yeah.
'Cause people could get hurt.
Right.
You don't know how many people I've seen, get hit in the eye with something or whatnot, and that will
Ruin a game.
that'll kill a game.
You need a certain amount of common sense.
Yeah, well, that too, and 9 times out of 10, it's another one of the rules: no drinking, no drugs,
The clean
none of
stuff,
that.
Yeah.
Clean game.
Clean game.
Well, and that's another thing too. I mean, yeah, it's a no touching scenario, but if you end up with a group of players, and by the way, this is a really awesome social thing to do too.
Yes,
I mean, you meet some great people. I met this guy via this guy, so I'd say I did pretty good. But that being said, you meet all kinds of people from all different walks of life who all share this same need to express themselves through a character that they've created in a world that's totally not our own.
That's right.
And that being said, some of them are going to be a little bit more friendly with others. There are certain actions that between particular players are occasionally allowed. The big thing is nobody gets hurt and nobody does anything inappropriate.
Right.
That's
Yeah, I've
really
had
the whole
players
thing.
who come up to me and said, I like role playing with this guy or this gal, but I would never hang out with them on the outside. Good.
It's
All right.
social
Awesome.
thing. Yeah.
Great.
And then there's some who become amazing friends too. So
Yeah.
it just,
It goes
it just
both ways.
depends.
Yeah.
This poor man has to put up with me. How long have I known him? God, since 2001.
Yeah,
For like
pretty
16 years, he's had to put up with me at this point. I feel sorry for you.
Well, so I want to close this out with the big question.
The big question.
The big question is,
Do we need a drum roll?
I'm if you want, but no.
What's that question?
The big question is, I'm a brand new storyteller.
Okay.
I know the system.
What's your
Well,
genre? Space?
What are the questions that I need to ask myself before I start building my story? Which is exactly where
if you're
going
to start,
yeah.
if you're a budding storyteller, if you want to start your own live action role playing or a tabletop, if you don't want to go through the decorating expense or the costuming expense or any expense,
Which are some of the considerations.
yes,
Yeah.
a lot of people do LARP light, which is a phrase for, see that big creature over there? It's not a guy in a costume. It's me saying there's a big creature over there. See it? It's coming after you. What do?
Right.
Run away.
Where you
I can't see it. How big is it? You get those questions.
It's
What I would do first is game a lot. Yes, I've had people who've gotten so sick and tired of seeing other people running it their own way. Not everybody likes what's already out there, to be honest with you, and they want to run their own game. My first LARP was in Davie, in a parking lot of a gaming store across from a beer barn.
Oh my God, I
You know what I'm
remember
saying?
this.
And we took them aside every Tuesday evening and sat them down and say, okay, here's the rules, learn it, and when this chronicle is over, apocalyptically, you guys can run your own games. We had 5 different people who were in that game, learned the rules, and ran their own game. I said, do it, more power to you. I'll be there. I want to see how you do.
Yeah.
Some of them last for like a long, long time. And the thing is like, they get more people into the game when they do that.
You breed a community at that point. I mean, you really create.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize, moms, dads, significant others. I'm responsible. I did it. See the target?
Yes.
You better throw your virtual darts now, guys.
So, oh, that's right. We're going to be immortalized on video here.
Yes, exactly. For all eternity.
Anything you want to say to the future generation of LARPers and storytellers out there?
Keep it imaginative. Keep it relaxed. If they see that you're really nervous, they're going to get nervous too.
Everybody
and
does.
also, again, going back to your question, get them really interested, and also get them a place that's safe to run. A private home is the safest place. Don't go. I mean, with all that's going on in the world, we used to be able to go to a park and do it. Now, unless that park is way out in the middle of nowhere and nobody's going to bother you, you know, safety first, guys. And, you know, read the rules, follow them, and have a good time. It's only to the betterment. I mean, if you think you can run a LARP better, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Take up the mantle.
Yes.
Take up the challenge.
Yes. And it's always nice to see that happen. If it goes well, awesome. You know what I'm saying?
And if it doesn't, you learn something.
You always do. Well, I want to thank you, Greg, so much for coming on our little podcast. Yes, thank you. Please like and love us at YouTube.
Like and love us.
Yes, like and love us. Subscribe to our channel. We do have our Facebook page. We are on Instagram. And of course, our partner in crime, the Two Nerds and a Joke family, will be more than happy to take you on liking them as well. We do post for both. So until next time, we appreciate your patronage, if you will.
Thanks, guys.
See you
Have a
later.
good night.